Well, those things were strange. Am I right? Hey, it's Allie. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking about, but not in the way that you think. I'm gonna be first talking about my review of this last season of Stranger Things and just the series as a whole as we close out now. Isn't it crazy how this show started like way back when? I don't even know when it started. Hold on. 2016 this show started. I was 16 years old and now I am 22. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that now I am 22 years old talking about this show and talking about how I cannot watch things properly? As I said before, the first part of this video is going to be a complete review, mostly spoiler free. I cannot promise anything. I'm not going to be talking about huge spoilers, but I will be skirting around the topic, so you have been warned. And the last part of this video is going to be why we as a collective, as a society, cannot seem to watch things normally. And actually, I think it's just me, but you know, I like to push my problems onto other people. So if at any time you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe because I make videos like this all the time. And thank you so much for being here. Okay, the first thing I have to say about Stranger Things as a whole, the show is surprisingly good. I think we all have Netflix fatigue. I think we all do, especially the choices that Netflix have been making within the last couple of years. We all have Netflix fatigue. So Stranger Things coming back after a small hiatus of, you know, the Rona 2020, whatever, you know, I think we were all kind of like, is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be good? But yeah, like it like surprisingly is good. Netflix isn't the best known for its amazing acting, so I was actually surprised to be like in the story, very immersed in the story from beginning to end. I watched season 1 back when it came out in 2016, and I didn't watch any of the other seasons until literally about a month ago. I skipped season 2. You can be mad all you want to, I skipped season 2. And season 3 I watched literally last month, literally up until like this last chapter came out like a couple days ago or whatever, when of time of filming it came out yesterday. Like I was genuinely surprised to see a lot of interesting story beats, like with the whole mind flare and the Demogorgon and blah blah blah. I really thought that shit would get stale, and there are some writing choices which I'll get to later that I do find pretty stale throughout the series, but the actual whole thing about the Upside Down, to me, they were able to keep the intrigue and the mystery of the Upside Down to the point where in season 4, when we finally get to go to the Upside Down and like see it and the characters actually get to go there and be there, it's like cool and interesting and scary because you're like, they're in this place that has like been really scary, and then by the last part, the part that came out yesterday, the 2 episodes, they're like fully in the Upside Down, running around doing things, and it's like you can feel less afraid of it now versus like season 1 where you're like, oh my god, the Upside Down, this is scary, whoa. And now we've like come so far, like the characters have come so far in their character arcs to the point where yeah, they can like do that. They can go into the Upside Down and fight the Vecna and all that stuff. Like they can do that now, and it's really cool to see. And it shows the character arc of everybody like really well, which is the most strongest part of this series in my opinion. I like all of the 80s themes. We cannot talk about Stranger Things without talking about the nostalgia factor. Stranger Things is very, very heavy on the nostalgia factor. They pushed the whole nostalgia bait craze in 2016. Like, they pioneered that shit. They may not have started it, but they definitely pioneered it. And the reason why the 80s like is coming back in aesthetics and stuff like that. And honestly, I love it. The furniture, the clothing, everything. I love it. I'm that bitch. I'm sorry. If I could get a shag haircut, a wolf cut, I would. I technically, because my sides are shaved, when my hair is down, it technically looks like that if I like style it properly, and it's cut off fucking jackets. But also, in addition to the 80s themes and stuff like that, we also have the nerd like aesthetic of it, especially in season 4 with the Hellfire Club and D&D. Like the fact that they added the little D&D history of like people literally thought D&D was like a cult that was gonna indoctrinate your children and make them worship Satan and kill people and have sex and shit. Like it was it was crazy. It was really fucking crazy. You should look that shit up because it was insane. But the fact that they added that, and that is like a core plot point for the overall like world building of Hawkins, is like everybody is after Eddie because Eddie's a part of this Hellfire Club and blah 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 blah. He's like, we'll get to the characters in a second, but the fact that that is like a key plot point And that hysteria, that mass hysteria about that is what's driving a lot of the citizens of Hawkins to do what they do. I don't even remember that man's name. He's too good of an actor because I wanted to kill this man. I wanted to choke him with my own bare hands. Anyway, overall, I would say I was very into it. I was very into it the entire time, despite having taken like a 4-year, 5-year, almost 6-year hiatus from the show since the first season came out. The fact that like I was still like in it and zoned in, it's great. It was good. The show is good. If you're a Netflix hater, like I am very close to being a Netflix hater, Stranger Things is a show that is going to surprise you about how good it is. That being said, however, there were some very interesting, to say the least, writing choices that I think did get stale pretty fast. Number one, I saw like a TikTok, YouTube short, whatever the fuck they're called, video about it, where someone basically said that every season that the whole like, oh, how are we gonna find this thing? How are we gonna find where we need to go? And then inconspicuously, someone is drawing on a piece of paper for just no reason at all, drawing on a piece of paper, and it's like, oh my god, that's the place we need to go. Oh really? I was just drawing on multiple different sheets of pieces of paper so you can arts your crafts your way through. Like, there are definitely some writing tropes in the show that are very cheesy, very campy. You kind of just have to go along with it. And I think by the time I got to the 4th season and they did it again, I was just kind of like, okay, all right, like, okay, sure. Also, a lot of the leaps of logic that they make going from one point to another to try and figure out how to defeat the Demogorgon, the Mind Flayer, Vecna, like, some of them, especially by the end of season 4, by the last 2 episodes, I love Dustin. He's my favorite character. But the shit that they made him say sometimes made no fucking sense at all. None of it did. And I love that they kind of played on that, and they were like, oh, like the other characters who weren't like nerdy were like, does any of that make sense? And they'd be like, nope. And they would just go with it. And then, like, that works only so much. You can only say, yeah, we know it doesn't really make sense, but just kind of roll with it. You have to suspend your disbelief when going into any TV show, any movie, especially sci-fi or horror. You have to suspend your disbelief and be like, yeah, these things don't exist in real life, but you have to put yourself into that situation where, okay, now we're in a world where these things do exist in real life. That's fine. I do it all the time. My favorite things to watch are anime and cartoons. I can easily suspend my disbelief for a different power system and structure and whatever. But it gets really annoying when you try to logic your way to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. However, I'll give it this. At the end of season 4, the last 2 episodes, everybody is scattered. Now, this is true. Like, this is not a spoiler. Everybody is scattered. Joyce, Hopper, and Murray are in Russia, Soviet Union. We got Elle and Mike and Will and Jonathan, they're all in California, and then you have the Dustin and Co and everybody else, they're in Hawkins. So one of the major things is that by the last episode, the last 2 hours and 22-minute episode, they definitely could have cut it up, because there was a point in that last episode that they could have absolutely cut it right there. And in fact, there was a fade to black moment where you thought they were gonna cut. You could have just made it 3 episodes. Like, there's no reason to at this point, and maybe that's the reason why they didn't do it. There was no reason to do that, but just having a 2 hour and 22 minute, I was up till 4 a.m. last night, because I didn't start watching the last 2 episodes till like midnight. So, anyway, that was off topic. Anyway, everybody is scattered, and it's the last episode, and you're like, how the fuck are Joyce, Hopper, and Murray gonna get back to fucking Hawkins in time? How the fuck is 11 gonna get back to Hawkins in time? And I'm so fucking glad they sat there and said they're not. They said straight up that they're not gonna make it in time. Thank God, because I was really like, please don't pull some movie magic. There is no way you're going from Russia to Alaska to then Indiana to try and save anybody in time. I remember saying that multiple times every time they went back to Hopper and Co. I was like, how the fuck are they gonna do that? And they're not. And I'm glad that they stuck to that writing choice to be like, they're not. But because of all the motherfucking leaps in logic that they had made beforehand, and actually all of that stupid shit, came back to help them in the end, because all the shit about like the mind flare and all that and all of them being a hive mind came back to actually be useful at the end, with Hopper, Joyce, and Murray helping out and defeating all of the Demogorgon monsters in the Russian prison or whatever, and then Elle like doing her thing and like actually connecting to her powers. Can I talk about something that grates me so much? The issue with endings for a lot of different TV shows is that they always feel rushed. No matter how much time or how much production time you have, somehow, some way, they always seem to rush. This is no exception. And I will get into that later when we talk about the very, very end of the whole series as a whole. Oh, I just wanted to say, for some reason, I thought the series was ending when I recorded this, and I was very confused. A lot of my opinions still hold up, so don't worry about that. But sometimes I will say series finale instead of seasons finale, because for some reason I thought that the show was ending, but it's not. So don't worry about me saying that, because I slip up a couple of times. But specifically, one thing that I am mad at that they didn't talk about that they needed to talk about was Elle's powers. Now, in the last episode is called Piggyback, which, spoiler alert, she figures out how to help out the crew in Hawkins without actually going to Hawkins because they're in like Nevada or like whatever the fuck. So she does that, right? And she's fighting Vecna. Spoiler alert, she fights Vecna. Who else the fuck is gonna fight Vecna, you know? So she's fighting Vecna. And Vecna, spoiler alert, is one, but that was in the first part, so you should have known that. He tells Elle during the first part, in the first part of season 4, he tells her when they're in the little, she's having her flashbacks, he tells her like, hey, channel your anger. He basically tells her that to use your power like really well, channel your anger, think of the thoughts that make you angry and sad, and that anger is what's going to fuel your power. And we have seen through Elle's character arc, it's actually a really good moment for that to happen, because we've seen throughout all of Elle's character arcs that she uses her anger a lot when, you know, doing that stuff. And the whole like character arc of her is being angry and upset with the world and the shit that has happened to her and trying to learn how to be normal again. However, it is very obviously stated visually in that same little season when she's fighting Henry one-on-one in the facility that he's using his anger as well to like force mind fight each other, and his anger is a lot more deep rooted and dark and whatever than hers is, because she's a literal child. But what allows her to defeat him is the fact that she thinks of love. She thinks of her mother and her mother's love to her, and that is like very obviously stated to be the key to making her so powerful. It's love, and it's obviously the key because when, spoiler alert, I guess love is the key. Love is the key. However, I feel like it wasn't utilized enough, and I feel like for Elle, I feel like it should have been a teaching moment for her. Spoiler alert again for the fight between Elle and Vecna. She loses at some point. Technically she loses overall, but we'll get to that. But she's at the losing point. You know, the hero has to lose for a second in order to win again in the end. She's like on the fringe. She's about to die. And then Will, you know, whatever, does his thing, does his monologue. And it's through that love that Will has for her that she's able to come back and like do her thing. But Elle doesn't learn that is the key. She doesn't learn that that's the key. It just helps and the day is saved and whatever. But Elle needs to learn, in my opinion, that is the key. And it just seemed like she didn't, especially at the end. However, despite all of the writing choices that sometimes don't make sense, I think that the actors 100% carry this entire show. Phenomenal acting, star-studded cast, start to finish. Every character, start to finish, was amazing. Every character, they brought those characters to life. Even if some characters only got a couple screen time, like Lucas needed more screen time. They gave my boy some more screen time at the end, and he fucking killed that shit. He fucking killed the fuck out of his performance, bro. I'm sorry, I know I keep saying fuck, but like, he did so well with what little he was given. And ooh, Oh, it was just so good. The acting was just so fucking good. Even during all of the relationship romantic shit between Nancy and Steve and Jonathan, I did not care. I did not care one flying second about that shit. But the acting was so good that I was like, yeah, I'm into it. I believe that he loves her. I do. I get it. Okay. But I don't care. I don't care. I love those characters. I love Nancy by herself. I love Steve by himself. Jonathan is okay. I wish they gave Jonathan a little bit more, especially at the end. At the end of the day, like, the actors carried. Every single actor carried. I can't even be like, oh, this actor stood out because they all in their own way. Eddie's acting was so good. He is such a memorable and favorable character, despite him only being introduced into this last season. Such a memorable character. Dustin? Okay, I gotta talk about some standout moments. Let me talk about my favorite standout moments, because otherwise I'm just gonna say acting good for the rest of the video. So some standout moments. Dustin and Eddie, oh, love them. Such a great fucking duo. Eddie and Steve's conversation about Dustin, awesome, amazing, love that. I love having two dads, you know. Dustin's monologue at the end last episode, his monologue that he got, I was bawling. I was absolutely bawling. So how do I say this? So if you know, you know. The first part, before Dustin's monologue, what Dustin's monologue is about, the first part of that, I did, like, shed a tear. But then Dustin's actual monologue at the end of the episode, I was, like, literally full on sobbing. Like, tears were running from my eyes. Oh my god, I'm gonna think about it again. It was just so good. Like, he fucking killed that fucking performance. I don't know what else to say. Bro, it was so fucking good. Lucas's performance as well, when he was in the house, the haunted house, whatever, bawling my fucking eyes out the whole time. Also, hate crime. If you know, you know. What the fuck? I know it wasn't, but holy shit. Like, he's a child. Because, like, I know, I'm not saying, like, oh, it shouldn't have happened in the show, blah, blah, blah. I was saying, it was a very, like, harrowing scene. I was like, why the fuck is he getting his ass beat right now by this pretty much grown-ass man? I laughed when the grown-ass man died. What else did you expect me to do? Be like, oh, no, I laughed. Nancy creating literally a sawed-off shotgun. I literally sat there, I was like, is that why they call it a sawed-off shotgun? Max's monologue. Also, Lucas's monologue right after Max's monologue. Acting. Hello. They really said, all right, Lucas, you were finally giving you lines. And I was like, he fucking killed that shit. My queen. Erica, my queen. Yes, ma'am. I love that she, like, is a blurred. Lucas and Erica, like, I love the fact that they're blurs. All right, Mike and Will and Jonathan. Phenomenal actors. I didn't care. Now, you may be thinking, what? What do you mean you don't care? Aren't you a part of the Rainbow Brigade? I sure am, and I did want Will to be gay. I do, and I definitely think that he is, but hey, that scene, though, was so underwhelming. I did not cry. People on Twitter are like, oh, I cried, and I was like, I didn't. And maybe it's because the actor, crypto bro enthusiast, and also being like, oh, we left it ambiguous. Like, maybe if he kept his mouth shut, maybe I would have been like, okay, I'll shed a few tears. It was acted really well. I think the writing was really good in that scene as well. But also, I was just sitting there like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I really wasn't. But I was feeling the scene later with Jonathan and Mike when, Will. Jonathan and Will, when they were having that conversation afterwards. And also the subtlety between, like, Jonathan looking at Will. That was really good. I liked that part. The whole actual monologue itself, though, didn't get the tear jerking that, like, people wanted. I was not. I was like, Anyway, however, Robin, oh wow, everything about Robin, everything about her, everything about Steve too, everything about Nancy, the three of them, best trio, best motherfucking trio. Okay, I could go on and on and on. Oh, Hopper and Joyce, love them. Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, also a great trio. Oh, spoiler alert, they fight Vecna, like physically fight Vecna. And the young adult trio, no longer teenage. I was about to call them the teenager trio, but they're no longer teenagers, they are young adults. So the young adult trio actually getting to fight Vecna was really cool. Hopper picking up the sword, biblical. I don't know what, I was like, that is so biblical. And him fighting that thing, gladiator style. It was amazing. It was so good. It was really fucking good. And they were playing Running Up That Hill, the orchestra version. That was so good. It was good. It was great. They knew that Running Up the Hill was gonna be that song. They really did, because obviously they filmed and edited and all that the last 2 episodes way before the first part even came out. So they had to know that Running Up That Hill was gonna be that song. They knew that Running Up the Hill was gonna be that song. Anyway, we gotta move on. I think that all the characters had amazing chemistry with each other. And obviously, so when things happened, like, you felt it. When they were screaming each other's name, when people got hurt, like, you felt it. I never cry when a character dies, but I usually cry when other characters who were close to that character react to that person's death. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Anyway, like, I genuinely thought that everyone was real friends. Whether or not they are outside of the show, I have no idea. I don't really care. But in the show, I felt that they were friends. I felt the connection. This is found family, bitch. I don't need to tell you about how I feel about found family, do I? No, I really fucking don't at this point. One more gripe that I have with the show, and then we'll move on to the ending of it. The parents, where were they? Because they got their little moment at the end of part 1, but then they were not there ever again. I just, why don't you ever know where your children are? Ooh. You never know where your children are? And also that plot line never really got wrapped up. That, like, they never got the confirmation that they needed that their children were not, like, out there doing crazy shit. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we could have gotten a little bit more a little bit tying of the bow with that. That would have been nice. It was kind of just a loose thread there. Like, oh, the parents. And then I never saw Dustin's mom again, or Lucas's parents again. Like, I wish I could have saw them again, you know? I wish I could have saw all the parents reuniting with Joyce, because didn't they think she was, like, crazy in the first season? Like, you know, like, I wish they would have done something there. That would have been nice, you know? All right, lastly, I want to touch on really quickly the actual ending to the show. So heavy spoiler alert ahead for that. Okay, we're good. I have chapters linked down below just in case you want to skip this part and just move on to the next part of the video. The ending of the show, a lot of people were saying on Twitter, was very underwhelming, and I agree. My friend said it was underwhelming, and I agree. Nothing got solved. There was no conclusion. And it just makes me wonder, was this filmed during quarantine? Like, did I miss something, like, production-wise? Because it never ended. Nothing ever got concluded. Nothing ended. Elle lost, which is fine if you want to go for a bittersweet ending, but nothing, like, it very obviously was like, we're doing more. Jonathan and Nancy and Steve never got resolved. I have to say that over and over again, because the very instant moment it could have gotten resolved with Jonathan's character, we go through this whole arc with Jonathan's character throughout the, like, last season, to have it literally amount to nothing. He has this conversation with Argyle saying, like, oh, I just need to tell her that, you know, I'm scared to go off to college and I don't want to go out to college and blah, 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 and we probably need to break up. Whatever, that conversation doesn't happen. Why? I get that maybe they were trying to stave off that whole relationship love triangle thing until the final season, which will be the last season, but I don't think that's good writing. Like, I feel like John and Nancy should have, like, broke up this season, and then in the next season, if y'all really want Steve and Nancy to be endgame, they can be endgame. But I just feel like right now, having both of that try to be in the last season is too much. Is way too much, because then it looks like Nancy moved on in like 5 seconds. If Steve and Nancy are even still in game. Anyway, it's very underwhelming because nothing gets solved. Vecna doesn't die. Fucking Elle doesn't win or lose really anything. Nothing gets solved at all. Everybody ends up together again, which was very nice to see, but like nothing gets like actually done forever. And it's just kind of like, so what did Eddie die for if you're not gonna at least have a conclusion? You had this character die just for there to be no conclusion? I don't get it. I really just doesn't sit right with me. It was very, very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Again, with Elle's powers at the end, also another standout moment that I couldn't put in the other section because it's a spoiler, a really heavy spoiler, when Elle said to Max, "No, you're not going." Like the way that she said it, that is probably it's probably my favorite scene, actually. It's probably my fucking favorite scene. That and Dustin's monologue to Eddie's dad. Like, that is my favorite scene because the way she said it with such conviction and such matter of fact. Like, it just was like, no, you're not fucking going, bitch. Like, the fuck? Like, that's how I feel. My friend ever tried to die. I was like, I will reach back up into heaven and pull your soul back down here. You ain't leaving. The fuck? Yeah. I wish we just got more for the ending. It was very, lackluster. Anyway, moving on to the final part of this video, I wanted to talk about why can't we just enjoy things normally? And this is mostly about myself, and kind of like a self-report, but also I've noticed other people online too. Now, I do want to also mention here, I do not have ADHD. I do not have OCD or any of those things. However, I am going to get tested for them very soon. So I am going to be talking about neurodivergent things in here. Just understand, just as a disclaimer, I am not officially diagnosed with it, but the therapist I've talked to and a lot of other people are pretty much like, yeah, you probably have ADHD. So I'm going to talk about some of the symptoms that I have and how I've done a lot of research because I'm getting ready to go take tests and stuff like that. So just disclaimer for that. So I cannot watch anything normally. Stranger Things is the first show in a very long time that I've been able to just watch for entertainment and be done with it. Most shows I get very hyperfixed about. Like very, very hyperfixed. Like right now I'm also really hyperfixed on Tokyo Revengers. Every single day I wake up and I'm thinking about Tokyo Revengers. I am looking up stuff about Tokyo Revengers. I'm reading fan fiction. I started reading the manga. I'm like about to literally make a video about it. It is very obviously a hyperfixation of mine. And I can say this with direct dichotomy to Stranger Things, where I watch Stranger Things and I'm like, cool, I watched it. It's good. I like it. I can sit here and make a video about it and be done. And I will be done with Stranger Things after this. If people want to talk about it with me, I'll talk to them. But in terms of like having it take up space in my brain, it won't. It really won't. But Tokyo Revengers is taking up too much space in my brain right now. And part of all of that is the reason why it took me so long to actually watch Stranger Things. Took me years, actually. And this is not the only show that this has happened with. It takes me sometimes a very long time to start a show, just like it takes me a very long time sometimes to start a task. Something in relation to ADHD there. That's a symptom also of like ADHD. Having a lot of trouble starting a task, and a show is no different, despite the fact that it gives you that instant serotonin that is usually the issue on why people with ADHD have a hard time starting tasks. I, however, get anxiety, which is another thing that like I know that I have, which is anxiety. I get like legit like stomach pit dropping anxiety for starting a show, because I know that it has the opportunity to literally alter my brain chemistry. Okay, not literally, but like, you know, it's going to take up space into my brain, and it's going to be all that I think about for like when I wake up, when I go to sleep. When I wake up, I'm on Tumblr checking Tokyo Revengers. Go to sleep, I'm on fucking Tumblr checking Tokyo Revengers. I'm reading the manga. I'm literally at work fucking daydreaming about Tokyo Revengers. It's bad. And this isn't, I'm not just saying like it's just Tokyo Revengers. Like like the Owl House, Amphibia, which is a show I've been watching, like any of the shit you see behind me on this wall, like it gets pretty bad, like in terms of like not being able to focus on other things because I'm too busy hyperfixating on this other thing. But as it relates to TV shows, movies, on a lighter note, it sometimes gives me anxiety to start or to finish. There are some shows that I haven't finished, like Spy Family, Ranking of Kings. I haven't finished those shows because I know about how obsessed I'm gonna be with them. And I see this on Twitter as well, a lot less from an actual neurodivergent like point of view, though there are people online who are like, obviously, like some people who have stan accounts might be neurodivergent. Not everyone who has a stan account though is neurodivergent, so that's why I say it's a lot less likely online, but I still do see it online. And think about Stranger Things, for example. The last 2 episodes that came out yesterday. It's been like only 24 hours, and the amount of people who are posting spoilers, posting this, that, the other things. I'm making this video essay right now, and it's like, we can't be ever calm about something. Whatever a show comes out that is generally liked or even generally not liked, we can't just enjoy that thing or not enjoy that thing and leave it be. And I don't want to get on my little soapbox here, but I think it really is just a coming of age technology thing, that we are just in an age now with technology. I sound like an old person, but we are in an age with technology now where like everybody needs to know your thoughts on everything. You're watching this YouTube video, thank you for watching. But everybody needs to know everybody's thoughts on everything, and it doesn't matter that the show just came out like fucking less than 24 hours ago. I'm gonna be posting spoilers. First of all, if you do that, you're an asshole. You are an actual asshole. You should at least wait 24 hours. You're an asshole. But I think collectively as society, now in the digital age that we are in, it's like kind of like a one-up game of like, you have to be knowing if like you're gonna be watching Stranger Things, you gotta watch it right away, because if you don't watch it right away, you're not gonna be a part of the in crowd. You're probably gonna get spoiled, so it's more incentive for you to just watch it right away and then go on Twitter and talk about it. And you can't just enjoy that thing when you get to it and whatever. For me personally, I know that it's probably ADHD, some type of neurodivergent thing. I know that for myself. However, I've noticed online where other people may not have those neurodivergent tendencies, it seems to be more of like a one-upping each other. And I just feel like we can take a step back and just enjoy things as they are, and that's it. I feel like we can do that, and you and I can do that. I can do that too. If you're like me and you're having trouble just enjoying things as they are, here's how I do it with Stranger Things. Number one, the fact that a lot of people were watching it. Something that is a trick for people with ADHD or who have ADHD tendencies, who have trouble starting a task, is to get somebody to help you with that task. That is something that actually translates really well. Euphoria was like that too. I had such pit-dropping anxiety about starting this show, and my friend was like, do you want to watch the show with me? And I was like, yeah. And I was able to just watch it, enjoy it, and move on. I made a video about it, moved on, and I have not cared about Euphoria since. When it comes to doing stuff like work or school or like whatever, and you feel like this hyperfixation is taking over and preventing you from doing that, have shut off times for your phone. And as it relates to your brain, like daydreaming and stuff like that, have a timer. Like, I'm not even lying. Sometimes I'm like, okay, if I start to daydream, I probably need a break anyway from what I'm doing. And, you know, the Pomodoro technique is really good for this. I stand by that technique. Set a timer for 20 minutes to just attempt to do something, and then take the next 10 minutes to let yourself daydream, to take a break or whatever, and keep doing that until you get what you need to get done. This turned into a very like informative video. I'm sorry we were talking about Stranger Things, but this is how I get through my hyperfixations not bothering me at work or anything. Like, this is how I do it. And honestly, you should probably be taking more breaks at work and at school anyway, so this is a good way to like force yourself to take a break. Anyway, Stranger Things was good. It had a good plot, a good story. It had a little bit of a hard time suspending my disbelief all the way with some of the writing choices, but the actors were phenomenal and were able to carry it. I think that Stranger Things will probably be the last good thing Netflix comes out with. I hate saying that. Because there's a couple other seasons of Heartstopper that are gonna come out. So actually I take that back. But in the fall of Netflix, to still have these hidden gems, they are not hidden. I don't know why I said hidden gems, but in the fall and decline of Netflix, to have these like good shows that still come out, I think Stranger Things is the exception. I think Heartstopper is the exception, not the rule, but that another conversation for another day. Go watch my Heartstopper video. I also think that Netflix needs to start doing the weekly episode format, because binge watching, people don't do that anymore. Some people do, but it has clearly been proven time and time again, especially in this age of the internet where we can't just watch things normally, that if you have pacing of putting your episodes out, people are also gonna have pacing of the hype of that show. Netflix is dying. Stranger Things is the exception, not the rule. And yeah, Stranger Things was good. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that video wasn't all over the place. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you did, you're amazing. You're awesome. Go ahead and press subscribe while you're here, and you get the absolute privilege of letting me know down in the comments below what you want to see. I am here for you. I love rambling about shows. I didn't even think I was gonna make a Stranger Things video until people were like, what, Stranger Things? Talk about Stranger Things. Like, a couple people had told me that. Not like everybody, but like, you know, a couple people told me, and I was like, you know what, I'll make a Stranger Things video. And I also had a lot to talk about with consuming media normally, if that's even a thing. So if you like this video, please let me know down below what else you would like to see. And I will see you in the next video. Peace. Also, all my social medias are down below. Peace.